Okay, it's recording. Hello, my name is Eric
Hello.
Bruckbauer. This is Steve Roberts, and
Hello.
this is the
Nice to meet you.
yes, welcome, Steve, to tell me about it.
You're a beautiful audience, everybody. Everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you
for
so much.
whoever's watching. Um, so this is my buddy Steve Roberts, and I guess I should start by saying how we know each other. We've been acquainted for well over 10 years. Kind of met it in a semi unusual way, just because. So I was taking classes at a North Seattle Community College. At the time, I thought I wanted to become an engineer, which didn't happen. But in one of my math classes, I met this gal and we became friends. Her name was Gwen, and we kind of formed a little clique in our class. And she invited me to a party at her house, and me and some friends came over to the party. And so it was the house where she lived and her boyfriend, and Steve was the boyfriend.
That's
And
me.
Steve and I hit it off right away because, and I'll never forget, he had on a poster on his wall of all these different country maps. And I like maps, and I don't know very many other people that like maps.
Look,
And
look at
so,
his background. Look at his background,
yeah,
everybody.
I got maps and globes.
Right there. Right there.
And if you can see this way, there's a big map of Oregon right here, too.
Oh, nice.
And so Steve and I ended up like quizzing each other about country maps, and I was like, "This guy's cool." I could tell that we were, I could tell that we were going to be buddies. And
You had an almanac. There was an almanac with all the flags, and you held it up to me, and you're like, "Okay, hot shot. What about this one? This is motherfucker." You're like, "Oh."
well, and you knew some pretty obscure ones that I didn't know, so I was like, "Okay, this guy's not fooling around. He's the real deal." And so we've been friends ever since. We've had many adventures together. Where we've gone to Ellensburg together.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Had some adventures there.
And
Uh,
Cle Ellen, don't forget.
yes.
Glondo's, the meat place there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There was an Italian sausage place, and you said, "I'm gonna name my next kid Glondo."
Oh yeah. Maybe
Uh,
maybe I'll still change my son's name to Glondo.
just
So why don't we dive into the meat of the story? So Steve has had a unique experience. That Steve was actually at ground zero on 9/11, which is
Mhm.
an experience that not too many people had. He was there for an incredibly historic event. Steve, I'd like to start by, could you just tell us what were you doing in New York at the time? Why did you even happen to be there?
Well, I graduated college in May 2001 from the State University of New York in Albany, New York, and I was interested in like banking and finance and like kind of international banking and all that stuff, like world geography, banking, similar.
Mhm.
I graduated college and I was looking for a job, and I managed to get a temporary job at a little place called Goldman Sachs, which you may or may not have heard of.
It rings a bell.
Goldman Sachs is a really huge investment bank, and they're pretty influential. And anyway, I was some temp kid who just graduated college, and I got a job at Goldman Sachs, so I was pretty happy. I was like,
Oh.
okay, now I could be like a New York bigwig, right? So I got hired there on August 11th or something, August 10th, and then I worked catty corner from the World Trade Center. I worked at a place called One Liberty Plaza, and the building was pretty much right next to the World Trade Center. So all the time I would go through there because there's a lot of subways that go through the subway station there, through the World Trade Center, and I like architecture, so I'd always like to look at the buildings too around there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, time goes on. I worked there 1 month, barely at all. I was, just trying to get my foot in the door, so to
Yeah.
speak. I was trying to work hard and become some. I worked in helping for the middle management or the middle income wealth people, which means if you earn $5 to $15 million, you're a middle income earner.
Oh, so you were on the fast track to riches there.
Yeah, I wish I was a middle income earner. You know what I mean? 5 to 15 million a year. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that wouldn't be too bad.
I was working there, and uh, not very long, but about 2 days actually. On a funny story, I was actually rollerblading of all things by the World Trade Center 2 days before 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for some reason, had an urge to go touch the World Trade Center. This is 2 days before anything happened. So I went over and I put my hand on one of the towers of the World Trade Center. I just had to touch it. It was this weird thing that happened.
Yeah.
Do that. I touched it and I just kind of like looked up at this giant building and like all the different the windows and everything, and just thinking about how they built it, like what a huge, amazing thing this giant skyscraper was. So I just kind of did that, and then I just kind of forgot about it. And then 2 days later, that happened on a Sunday when I did that. And then Monday came, I went to work, nothing, no big deal. And then Tuesday came around, which was the day of 9/11. I went to work on the subway. It was a beautiful day, beautiful sunny day, middle of September almost, so really nice weather. And the subway was going through the World Trade Center station. I want to say Chambers Street. I think that's the name of it. It's been a while. Mm-hmm. And the subway stopped under 9/11. That was at about 8:45 in the morning. I was trying to get to work at 9, and I thought, oh, crud, I'm going to be late to work because, I want to be there at 9. And anyway, the subway stopped at 8:45 right under the Chambers Street station. I don't know if it was due to the first plane, which had hit the one tower in the meantime at about 8:45.
So to be clear, you were basically in the basement of one of the towers.
Exactly. Yes, the Chambers Street subway station, which is right at the World Trade Center. Mm-hmm. So I was right when it hit. No one had any idea anything was going on up above. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're basically in the basement.
Yeah.
And it was before a lot of cell phones. So we literally sat under we sat in the subway, like, all these people in the subway, and we sat there for a while, and I thought maybe I'm just going to get out and walk, you know what I mean? Like, it's a block or a couple blocks away. I was going to go to the Park Place station, which was the next stop on the subway line. That's actually where the building was. But anyway, we got moving again, and I got to my destination, which was the Park Place station for One Liberty Plaza. And I got out of the subway and was walking up the stairs, and some guy fucking runs by me, and he goes, "The World Trade Center's on fire." And I was like, some idiot left a cigarette in the trash can. You know what I mean? Like, and
so
anyway.
Wait, let me make sure I didn't miss a detail here. You almost got out at the previous stop, which would have been right where the World Trade Center was, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
And you only didn't do that because about the time you were considering that, the train started going forward?
Right, because I was like, oh, it's like a couple more blocks. It's no big deal. I'll just get on and walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But instead, you stayed on the train and you went to the next stop.
The next stop, yeah, which was maybe another minute or two down the line. And anyway, I got out of my station, Park Place, and I was walking up the stairs, and that guy runs past and goes, "The World Trade Center is on fire." And I thought, you know what I mean? It's something stupid. No big deal. And anyway, I walked up to the street, like in New York City, you walk out of the subway onto the street, and everyone's kind of like running around. Like, people are like running around crazy. It kind of reminded me of like when there's an anthill and you take a stick, put it in the anthill, and all the ants like swarm around. It was kind of like that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
People were kind of running around, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? So I walked out of the subway station, and the minute I got past the building, there was a giant skyscraper there, and I walked past it, and the second I turned my head to look at the World Trade Centers was when the second airplane had hit the side of the tower. So it hit from the other side, and all I saw was this big, it's kind of, I'm like kind of these flames shoot out of the World Trade Center. I didn't see it. I didn't see an airplane hit the World Trade Center. I just saw flames shoot out the other side before it hit.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm not going to work today.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone was like talking to each other. Like people were just like yelling stuff, and like people were like actually being kind of cool. Like, look out! Like, I don't know. It was hard to explain, but like,
Yeah. They
and
were kind
so
of
I
looking
didn't.
out for each other a little bit.
Yeah, actually, New York people are pretty cool. Honestly, like they
Yeah.
got a bad reputation, but
Yeah, I went there a couple of summers ago and I was surprised that people were much nicer than I thought they would be.
honestly, the immigrants are the friendliest people. Anyway, so yeah, I was like, with where I work being literally catty corner to now two buildings on fire, I thought, nope. You know what I mean? This is kind of more serious than some idiot throwing a cigarette in the trash can. This
What
is obviously something is
yeah,
afoot
what
here.
what did you think maybe was going on at that point? Or were you just kind of had no idea?
The second I saw the second explosion out of second tower, I thought, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm going home. Like there's nothing I can do here.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy, but like right after that happened, I watched it for like a minute or two, and I thought like, oh, I'm trained in CPR. I'm trained in basic first aid. Maybe I'll go help. And I started to walk, and there was like every fucking firefighter in the world, every fire truck was going to the World Trade Center at that time. So I thought, I don't think the firefighters need my yuppie ass going to the World Trade Center. Hey guys, can I help? So yeah. And so basically, I kind of like stood there and watched it for like a couple minutes, and I thought, there's then I just kind of had something dawned on. Well, first off, I just some woman was there, and she just kind of looked friendly, and I said, "Hey, can I borrow your cell phone?" Which was a new thing at the time,
No.
and so she let me borrow her cell phone so I could call my girlfriend at the time. So I just called her real quick and like was like, I'm down by work and I'm just going home because there's something very serious going on here. And so again, I stood there, I don't know, I can't remember, probably like 15, 20 minutes. Either way, the flames are coming out either side of both buildings are on fire and getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. And then people started to jump out of the World Trade Center. So you basically had like, here's one of the towers, here's the second tower over here. So people would like, the flames were like down here. And then some people would like jump out of the building, the windows, and splatter on the side of the building.
Yikes.
These people jumping out of the building. And so I thought, I have no business here. I'm going home. Like, I don't know what you say. Like, I saw a bunch of people jump out. You could see like their ties flying up in the air as they jumped out of the building to commit suicide rather than burn. So I saw that and I thought, I just started walking away. There's nothing else I could do. Just walking fast away. Like,
Yeah.
it's like anyone with any common sense is just going to be walking away from these buildings right now because they're going to collapse. They're all on fire.
So did you kind of foresee that was a likelihood before it happened?
Once I saw how badly they were burning, I thought there's no way anything could survive this. You know what I mean? Like the building itself structurally, I'm no engineer, but I was like, there's no way it's not going to come down, and it's one of the biggest buildings in the world. So when both of these motherfuckers come down, the dust and everything is just going to be. You have to get away from this right now. The asbestos, you know what I mean? Like
So that was already kind of in your mind that was probably about to happen.
well, with as badly as they were on fire, I was like, nothing can survive this. Like you have to go. Anyone with any common sense needs to evacuate right now. So I just started walking as fast as I could, and then I got to Chinatown, and that's when the first building came down. Every now and then I'd like look over my shoulder to like see is the building still standing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it would just look worse and worse. You'd see like more smoke and just not good. So it was kind of cool. This was a cool story. I was in Chinatown. I was walking, not running, but just walking. You know what I mean? Just trying to get away.
Yeah.
And these dudes, these African dudes, Senegal, they were like, I was just walking by and I was like, hey man, what's going on? And they're like, get inside, get inside, get inside. So I like ran in these guys' apartment. And that's right when the one tower came down. So like I basically stayed inside with these guys, and we like all these immigrant dudes from Senegal. They were so cool. Well, I just had said they was just kind, you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like around, and they like had a TV on, the CNN, and they're like, we were all watching what just happened, like a mile away. And so we saw the first tower came down, and we're just like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And I was like, I'm sorry, guys, but you guys also might want to go. You know what I mean? Like, get out of your apartment. You know what I
You
mean?
thought
Like,
maybe they weren't far enough away at that point.
well, it was about a mile in Chinatown, which is pretty close to the World Trade Center. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like in this apartment building, like the dust and everything. Like,
Yeah.
if you need to, you might want to get outside. So basically, I was like, okay, guys, I'm gonna go, man. Thanks a lot. Hugs. Like, really, you guys are cool. So I just kept on walking, and I got maybe another mile down further north. I lived up on the Upper West Side, so I was just walking north as quickly as I could, trucking it. And I got another mile away or so, and that's when the second one came down. And I just thought, well, that's it. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do. So I walked, I don't know, a couple more miles. I probably lived 5 miles away, 6 miles. I can't even remember. And yeah, I just walked by a church at a certain point. They had their doors open. It said, like, anyone come in. And I just went in there and stayed in there for, like, I don't know, half an hour, just trying to regroup because I was losing my shit at that point. And then I made my way home. I just got back to my apartment, and that was kind of it. But one thing I just want to point out, say that I've thought about a lot since then. I maybe about a month before 9/11, I used to that area it's a super super cool area. I love New York City. I love 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 New York City. There's a Soto south of downtown. This kind of cool neighborhood right nearby. It was about a month before 9/11, so in August 2001, I was walking by a fire station, and there was this fire guy. I had like an empty bottle of water. I drank all my water, and there was a dude out there spraying his fire truck off with the hose. And I was like, "Hey man, can you fill my water bottle?" He's like, "I not with the hose, man. Come inside, come inside." So he invited me into the fire station. He was like, "Give me a quick tour." And he was just this nice guy. And he was like, "Help yourself to the faucet, man." He was like super cool. And then I remembered that guy, and I thought, was he killed in 9/11? Because he was not even a mile. He would have been one of the first responders to 9/11. So I've always had that mystery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been too long, so it'd be hard for me to like really remember what the guy looks like. But that was probably a guy who was killed that day. So anyway,
Yeah. And,
this sucks.
well, and kind of along those lines of, sort of imagining all the ways that things could have played out. I mean, do you ever think of how things might have played out differently had you gotten out, of the train at the World Trade Station?
Honestly, I probably would have just walked out at Chambers Street and walked up. Like, it's kind of like it was kind of like a giant mall down there. Like, in the subway station, there was a giant mall under the World Trade Center. It was kind of blown away, just this huge complex they had built under these giant towers. Honestly, if I would have gotten up there, I would have probably just like looked up and gone, ugh.
Well, that's
I would have seen it a lot more up close, but I probably would have left. You know what I mean?
You would have still had time to get out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, absolutely. I would have had more time to walk away because I would be right there when.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's
a lot more shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, so, I was imagining that like maybe people who were sitting next to you on the subway like didn't make it, but it sounds like that probably wouldn't have.
They were probably fine. They were probably fine. Everyone on the subway was probably fine, just because they were like going further down the road. So, but yeah.
Well, and so you had this crazy experience, but also, in many ways, it kind of changed the course of your life. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, after 9/11, I lost my job, and then I just kind of gave up on life or something after that. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't afford the apartment I was staying at with my girlfriend. We fought all the time. So I just kind of like left and went back to my parents' house and lived there very briefly, and then decided, well, I was an investment banker. I think I'll get an MBA. So I went to college for like not even a semester and dropped out because I just wasn't into it. But I thought, I'm going to join the fucking military because I was so mad after seeing all those people die like that. There's nothing you can do. It gets burned in your soul. Just you have a hatred not even a hatred, just like an anger. Nothing that's going to quench that. So I decided I was going to join the U.S. Marine Corps. And so I signed up. Everything was getting all ready to go into the military because I wanted to study chemical weapons. Because I thought at the time, too, there was all the talk of like, oh, chemical weapons. We have anthrax. Al Qaeda's going to release anthrax and we're all going to die. Like, and I thought, I am going to fucking fight with everything I have because we have to. And anyway, I was going to join the Marines, and then about a month before basic training, which would have been at about May 2002, I was riding my bicycle because I was working out all the time, and I fell off my bike and completely shattered my arm. So that was it for joining the military, which is probably all for the better at this point. But
So they said your arm is messed up. We don't, we're not going to take you.
pretty much, I was well at that point too. I kind of give it up. I was like, I can't. I don't know. I couldn't make a coherent thought in my own mind.
And your brother did join up, right?
Me and my brother shook hands. Yes, we basically agreed that we were each going in because we had to do what was right. Right. So he went into the U.S. Army Infantry. He did not injure himself beforehand, so he went in and served 5 years, 2 years in Iraq. God bless him. And yeah. So that's my story.
Well, and then how did that also play a role in your eventual finding your way to the West Coast?
Pretty much, yeah, because I didn't really know what to do. I didn't have a job. I was living in my parents' house. I felt like a complete failure. I mean, even though things were beyond my control, I applied to hundreds of different type jobs, all kinds of stuff. Like every possible like banking job and economics because I was a recent college grad, so I was like, well, I have to use my degree to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I was just kind of fucked up in the head too, so I just kind of I didn't really know what to do. I was just so angry all the time. Yeah, so anyway, a friend of mine named Brooks, not Brooker, basically, who lived in Seattle at the time, at the end of September 2002, 2003, he said, why don't you just kind of move out with us? Like, so I just kind of moved out to Seattle. I didn't really know what else to do. And here I
am. And you just knew this guy? You didn't really have any other connections or like a job lined up or anything? You just decided,
nothing.
I'm going to go
Nothing.
live on a completely different coast.
Basically, yeah. Well, because, I mean, New York City at the time, too, like, there was so many people who were unemployed at that point. Like, even, I mean, okay, how many people, 3,000 people died, 9/11? I can't remember the exact numbers.
Something like that.
All of a sudden you had this giant vacuum. There had been like this mall there, basically, and all these people had lost their jobs. But I mean, probably a lot of people survived. So, but they lose their jobs, and then all these investment banks and all these other banks that are in the 110 floors, yeah, 110 floors of. So all these people too, if they survived 9/11, they lose their job. Like basically, it was mass unemployment in New York City.
Yeah.
So I just I left. I thought, fuck this. I can't do it. Can't do it. I'm just done.
And you've lived in Washington State ever since.
Ever since, yep.
So, I mean, it's really not an exaggeration to say that event completely changed the course of your life. I mean, I don't suppose you could even try to speculate how your life might have gone differently if 9/11 hadn't happened. You would have continued to work in Wall Street, and who knows where that could have led.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I'd be pulling up at the valet parking and throwing some guy my keys. Hey, park the Lamborghini. I checked the Probably not, but yeah.
Well, but we never would have met and become friends, so glad you found your way to the West Coast. But yeah, thank you for sharing this story with us. What a crazy experience you had, and for it to really affect you in so many different ways. Just with kind of how you felt, but also kind of where you decided to go from there. I mean, do you still kind of have kind of unresolved feelings about that event? or is it just kind of something in the past now?
At this point, it's just kind of something in the past. I mean, I had horrible nightmares for the longest time. Seeing those people jump out of those buildings. No one needs to see that, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, at this point, it's just kind of like, whatever, it's in the past, you know?
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
yeah, it's hard to believe how long ago that was, because for I'm sure for some of us it still feels, we can remember it so vividly, but it was actually 20 years ago.
yeah, this coming up this year, 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
And I
yeah,
can say, I mean, I can't even imagine what it would have been like to go through that. But Hannah and my wife and I were in New York a couple of summers ago for a wedding, and when we saw, we went to Ground Zero and saw the memorial that they have there. Um, I mean, it was really powerful to be like, this is where that happened. I mean, even for
right.
people who weren't there, obviously it had an effect on everyone. Have you been back since then? Have you ever seen the
I've
memorial?
not been back to, I was in New Jersey in 2011 just to see my family. And I really was tempted to just take my one uncle and aunt, they live about an hour, 45 minutes on the train from Metuchen, New Jersey over into the World Trade Center stop. Or, yeah. Anyway, but I woke up at like 4 in the morning when I was staying at their house and I couldn't sleep. And I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to go down and take the train down to the city just for like an hour or two and then come back. But I didn't do it. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing it because it would have been kind of fun. You know what I mean? Kind
Yeah.
of cool. But yeah, no, I miss New York City, but I haven't been back since.
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you so much for sharing your story, Steve. Yeah, it's really wild to hear what that was. I mean, we all saw it on TV, but it's really wild to hear about it from, someone who was actually there, when all that happened.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Thanks a lot. Tune in next time for another exciting episode.
See you guys later.
Tell me about it.
I hope you have a more cheerful guest next time.
We'll see. All right.
I
Thanks,
say
Steve.
puppies. All right, thanks.